Hi everyone, welcome to week 4 of TDEC's virtual summer camp. Today is Earth Friendly Thursday, but it's also National Pollinator Week. So today we're going to be learning about some of Earth's most beneficial insects, the pollinators, and what we can do to protect and preserve them in our very own backyard. So today's activity, we will be doing a DIY native bee house. So let's get started. There are more than 4,000 native species of bee in North America. Bumblebees, sweat bees, mason bees, and leafcutter bees are just a few of our native pollinators. The well-known honeybee, while very important to agriculture, is actually a non-native species. It was brought to North America from Europe and is now considered naturalized, which means it is established and widespread in the wild, though not indigenous. Bees are incredibly busy, not just collecting resources for themselves, but also pollinating trees, shrubs, and wildflowers, as well as most of our agricultural products. It is actually estimated that bees are responsible for pollinating 1/3 of our food supply. With the recent decline in many pollinator species and in an increase in public concern, it is important for us to understand the ecology of these beneficial insects so that we can better provide an appropriate habitat for them. Before honeybees were introduced, native solitary bees were the most abundant bee pollinating in North America. Today, these species pollinate side by side in most ecosystems. Solitary bees are non-aggressive, easy to attract, and are very efficient pollinators known for their energetic nectar harvesting techniques. Unlike the communal hive-nesting honeybees, solitary bees nest as individuals. Some are ground nesters, such as bumblebees and sweat bees, but many, such as mason bees and leafcutter bees, are cavity nesters. Cavity nesters lay their eggs in small holes, those like wood made by birds and insects, or in dried hollow reeds and stems. They start by filling the back of the cavity with nectar and pollen, then deposit an egg and seal it with mud or chewed leaves in a true mason-like fashion. The larvae develop inside the nest, nourished by the pollen nectar ball, and after spinning a cocoon and pupating, the new adults become dormant and remain until the next spring. A common type of solitary bee that is great to attract to gardens are mason bees. There are about 140 species of mason bees across North America. The males do not have a stinger, and the females will only sting if trapped or squeezed. This makes them an ideal neighbor for home gardening, since they pose little threat. Mason bees are also cavity nesters, and you can invite them and their pollinator services to your garden by providing a bee house. An excellent option is to build your own bee house. This provides a safe space for these important pollinators to reproduce. A bee house is simply an attractive addition to any yard or garden space that provides habitat for solitary cavity nesting bees. A bee house is an artificial nesting structure that mason bees and other solitary bees can use to lay their eggs. Ideally, a bee house provides a safe space away from predators, weather, and chemicals, all of which can interfere with a successful reproductive cycle. There are several common designs, but it is important to make sure that your bee house design offers a way to clean and remove used cavities, because solitary bees will not usually use the same cavity more than once. Some plans create a bee house by drilling holes into stacked blocks or scrap wood pieces, as we will be doing today. Some other plans create a bee house by drilling holes into cardboard, or you can use hollow paper tubes or dried out stems and decorative containers. Both options mimic the habitat that bees would naturally use to nest in and will allow you to monitor the house and replace parts as necessary. Inviting mason bees and leafcutter bees to use the house that you've provided will also require an appropriate habitat surrounding the nest. Bees need pollen and nectar, and lots of it. Solitary nesting bees need up to 4 times the amount of pollen and nectar for reproduction than hive nesting bees do. They don't want to travel far to get it either. They usually stay within 100 meters of their nesting area. That means that they need a diverse native flower bed nearby, with plants producing blossoms from March to June for spring mason bees and from June to August for summer season leaf cutters. Native plants, such as milkweed, coneflowers, and black-eyed Susans, are important to pollinators because they have the morphology that allow bees to efficiently access the nectar and pollen. Native plants also contain chemical compounds that bees seek out to self-medicate to combat mites and pathogens. Since the resources these bees need are both natural and easy to provide, we can help support solitary bees by providing a flowering habitat in our landscapes as well as a home. And it won't take long for your local bees to discover this convenient nesting place and take up residence there. So let's get started with our DIY bee house. So here we are in our wood shop about to get started on our bee house. For this activity, you will need several scrap pieces of wood, a drill and a drill bit, a nail gun, or you can also use screws in your drill, and wood glue. So first, we're going to start with a frame. A wooden box that is open on the front side is a good place to start. Make sure to include a roof or cover to deflect rain. Make sure that your frame is designed so that you can remove and clean or replace your cavity block. We have added finger slots on the inside of our frame to do so. The bee house should be closed on the back end, only one entrance. If you decide to use cardboard or hollow tubes, your frame will need a back. The holes should be 2 to 10 millimeters in width to accommodate multiple species of native bees. We use a 3/8 standard size drill bit. If you get the holes too big, you may attract predators like wasps and ultimately endanger the bees that you've invited into your yard. We glued several scrap pieces together to form a solid wood block. Then drilled holes in the block approximately 1 inch apart. After your holes are drilled, slide your cavity block into the frame. We made an extra piece to fit into the top as well. Now it's time to install your bee house. Make sure that your bee house is firmly installed to a wall, a tree, or on the ground. It should not shift around or sway in the wind. Also, be sure to place the bee house in the sun, facing south or southeast to catch the earliest morning heat, as mason bees require morning sun to warm up and get going. Let's go install our bee house. Thank you for following along with today's Earth-Friendly Thursday activity. We hope you enjoyed a little bit about our native bee population, their importance as pollinators, and how you can help protect and preserve them. We hope to see you tomorrow for our fun Food Waste Friday activity. See you then.